Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Syriana Analysis. I'm your host, Kevork Almassian. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's live streaming. I appreciate you all, whether you're watching this stream on YouTube, on Rumble, and on Odyssey. Today, I also started streaming on Odyssey for the first time because I'm trying to diversify the audience and also giving you the opportunity, if you're on Odyssey, to watch it, because some people say they only follow Rumble, others say they are only on YouTube, and some people also send me, please do these streams on Odyssey, and I don't think it is any harm in also streaming on Odyssey. So if you're watching from there, hello and welcome to Syriana Analysis. I just want to make one announcement before I start today's live streaming, and that is, in the past few days I received a few emails from YouTube basically deleting some of the old videos on Syriana Analysis, the ones that were my appearances on Russia Today International. Those were a few years ago, and despite that, YouTube has taken down all these videos and warned me, like the finger the finger treatment basically, that you shouldn't download these videos and you should refrain from doing it, otherwise we will give you a strike, because they say Russia Today is banned in Europe and in the United States on YouTube. So I'm doing basically committing a heinous crime against the against people's minds for showing them what I said personally, basically, on Russia Today International, some of which were about Armenia, others were about Syria. But anyways, I went through my playlist and started deleting one by one. There were many few, let's say, old ones that I deleted before they noticed it, and some of which were basically, like, even the logo of Russia RT International was blurred so that they wouldn't be so offended. But despite that, even with the blurred logo, they had deleted these videos. And since then, this YouTube channel, since I do the live streamings, I'm getting considerable number of people watching it live, but then when the live is over, YouTube is not showing the video to the people. So this is a new form of suppression, it seems, because they realize probably that I'm on RT International in the past, so they consider me probably, according to them, of course, a Russian propagandist or this and that. And this is a stupid, of course, accusation. If I receive an invitation from BBC, which I did in the past, and I appeared on BBC. If I received an invitation on Deutsche Welle, which is a German public broadcast, and I appeared on almost all TV channels without problems. So whether it's Russia Today or not, that's irrelevant for me. I say what I believe because nobody tells me what I should say. Anyways, this was just a disclaimer before I start. I hope in the next few days I will also start streaming on a fourth platform, which is the platform is already been now created. My account on that platform is created, and my YouTube videos are synced on this platform. It is going to be a little surprise for you soon. It is a platform that you probably do not know, but I was approached by a company basically telling me that I will be treated fair and you're not going to lose anything. Just like I'm streaming on Odyssey, on Rumble, and on YouTube, you could also share on our platform, and our platform is also more family oriented. And I said, okay, if I'm going to be treated, let's say, fairly, unlike on YouTube, which suppresses many of my streams, basically, I would really like to know how to get rid of this suppression, because it's really annoying. And as much as this channel grows, we're almost hitting 100,000 subscribers, but still the number of the viewers almost stay the same. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, today we're going to speak about the Trump and the King of Jordan meeting, which some of you, I'm sure, have followed the videos, the statements, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion about this case and my analysis, because it's very important in West Asia at the current moment to follow what Trump is trying to do, and also at the same time to really draw the line for the people who say Trump is playing a 4D chess. Please ignore these people, guys. Trump is not playing a 4D chess. Trump was not playing a 4D chess when he assassinated Qasem Soleimani. He wasn't playing a 4D chess when he bombed Syria twice, and he wasn't playing a 4D chess when he moved the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and he wasn't playing a 4D chess when he recognized illegally the Golan Heights as part of Israel. And now that Israel also expanded inside Syrian territories, he doesn't say anything about it, and he will recognize the new and next and occupied territories, those who belong to Syria, as also Israeli sovereign territories. And he is talking about an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians from Gaza, that he will occupy the Gaza Strip, and then they will move their energy and they will shift their energy to the West Bank. So don't be fooled by the people trying to tell you that this is a 4D chess. Those people are psyoping you. And when the bitter truth, if the bitter truth comes into reality, then you will realize that you have been fooled by these people, because they are psyops and they're trying to manipulate you into believing that Trump is somehow trying to trick the Zionists and trick Netanyahu, and that against the will of all the Zionist donors and the members of his cabinet, is somehow going to outsmart all of them. This is foolish, and it's not going to happen, just for you to know. Now, in the past few decades, especially after 1948 and the establishment of Israel in the region, of course, all Arabic countries were against Israel, and many of the countries, let's say, declared war against Israel in 1948, but most Arabic countries were under occupation, under mandate. They didn't have armies, and they lost collectively against Israel, which had the backing of the UK and the United States back then. However, after a few decades, especially in the 60s and the 70s, the tone in the region has started to shift toward Israel, and some Arabic countries decided that they don't want to be part of this conflict, and they don't want to participate in armed struggle against the Israelis. And they found out, in their own view, some of them, of course, imposed by their own regimes, that the struggle against Israel is fruitless, and that the US has its backing, and this is a superpower. And if we face the US and Israel combined, and behind them the collective West, this will reflect negatively on our national security. Therefore, we don't want to be part of it, and we want only to focus on our own affairs, and we basically don't care what happens to the Palestinians. However, other Arabic nations said, no, we will face this US hegemony in the region, and we believe that the reason for the instability in the region is the US supremacy and its client state, Israel, right? So in this case, some of these countries who resisted the American hegemony were part of the axis of resistance. And this was even before the axis of resistance of Iran, right? Some of these countries, like Iraq, they had challenged the US hegemony. Syria challenged US hegemony. Libya challenged US hegemony. Egypt challenged US hegemony until 1978. But if you see, Iraq was knocked out by the US, Syria was knocked out by the US, Libya was knocked out by the US, and almost all the Arabic countries which challenged the US dominance in the region were in one way or another targeted by the US, whether directly or indirectly. And some of them were completely destroyed, such as Syria and Iraq, for example, right? And also Libya. So in the 70s, Egypt took a different path vis-a-vis Israel, and they have struck a peace deal. The same goes for Egypt, which is the topic of today's video. Now, the difference between the countries who were targeted by the US because they challenged the US hegemony and those who didn't challenge the US hegemony in the region is the following. Now, the US has focused all its energy on the countries which represented a challenge to its dominance, and started to destabilize these countries one by one, and knocked out many of them, right? Including some of the non-state actors in the region. But the countries which aligned itself with the US, they have thought that by becoming allies with the US, they will spare the US, let's say, plots against them. And this was, in my opinion, it's a misconception or misunderstanding of the US foreign policy, because the US doesn't have allies. The US is the center of the world. The US planners see the US as the center of the world. They don't care if the interests of the allies were damaged in the discourse of achieving the higher goals of the US foreign policy, economic, financial, strategic, geopolitical, etc. One of the evidence for it is the Nord Stream pipelines, because the US wanted to draw a rift in Europe and draw a line between Ukraine, let's say between Russia and the rest of Europe, and they have destroyed the Nord Stream pipelines against the will or against the interests of Germany. So in this case, when there was, let's say, a conflict of interest between Germany and the US went and followed its own interests regardless of what the Germans think. And this is also applies on the Arabic countries. The Arabic countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, they have always thought that by aligning themselves with the US, then they will spare all this destruction or the plots of the US against them. But that's, as I said, is a misunderstanding of the nature of the US as an empire. So the US at the current moment is bullying Saudi Arabia, bullying Egypt, and bullying Jordan to accept the mad plan of forcibly displacing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, basically ethnically cleansing them from the Gaza Strip to Egypt and to Jordan. Egypt said no completely, and Jordan said no, but the Jordanian king paid a visit to Washington, D.C., and all of you watched the videos with Trump, and this was a little bit too embarrassing, and he looked very weak and docile in front of Donald Trump. He looked very nervous from his body language. If you saw his face expressions, he was very, very, very tired and nervous sitting next to Donald Trump. So I don't want to be in his shoes because Jordan is a very, in my opinion, a vulnerable, exposed country. It depends on foreign aid. It has a lack of water. It has a explosion of population, and the economy is in tatters, and they have a high unemployment level. So all the ground is so fertile for creating a mayhem in the country or instability if the king of Jordan insists on his position that they will not receive the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. Now, he could receive a few thousand. That's already, I think, 60% of Jordan now are populated by the Palestinians. But if he says no to the core of the project, which is completely uprooting the Palestinians to Jordan and to Egypt, then I suspect that the US will definitely pursue or try to pursue its end goal and create instability in Jordan via the Muslim Brotherhood there. And the Muslim Brotherhood are linked to Qatar and linked to Turkey. And just like they did in Syria, they will try to do the same thing in Jordan. So even if Jordanian kingdom is an ally to the United States, his opposition, basically, which could replace him, they are also allies of the United States. So they hold the two sides of the same coin, and they can create a situation in Jordan that if the Jordanian king refuses, then the alternative will accept in this case. So the Jordanian basically king, he formally, let's say, or officially, or on the surface, he rejected and he refused to endorse Trump's plan for Gaza, and he didn't say yes for that. However, speaking with the king in the Oval Office on Tuesday, Trump reiterated his plan for the United States to own the Palestinian territory after the war. He repeated his expectation that Gaza's 2 million inhabitants would be moved to Egypt and Jordan to make way for what he described this week as a real estate development for the future. Trump previously said that there are parcels of land in Jordan that could become a permanent home for displaced Gazans. The president has threatened to cut billions of dollars in aid to Amman and Cairo if the countries refuse to take in Gazans, an announcement that has caused constant anger in the Middle East. The king, who is 63 years old, has previously said he rejects any moves to annex land and displace Palestinians, and pointedly refused to agree to Trump's plan when asked to comment inside the White House. He said he would do what is best for his country, adding that Arab nations would come to Washington with a counterproposal. In this case, Netanyahu, of course, said that Israel would resume intense fighting in Gaza if Hamas didn't return hostages by noon on Saturday, without specifying whether he was referring to all captives. And as Trump ushered the King Abdullah into the White House, he answered yes when asked whether Saturday was still his deadline for Hamas to release the remaining hostages. On Monday, he said he would let hell break out if they were not freed. So Trump stressed that the US would not have to buy Gaza after the war, but could take control of it by an unspecified American law. Palestinians moved elsewhere under his plan would not have the right to return to Gaza because they would have much better housing in Jordan and Egypt. President said he thought he could persuade Amman and Cairo to agree to his plan. Trump said US troops would not be needed because Israel will watch it because it's right next to Israel. So anyways, I think Trump has lots of leverage over Egypt and over Jordan. And if you remember last week or 10 days ago when the US paused its foreign aid packages to the rest of the world, this was for every other state and non-state actor except for Israel and Egypt. They cut it also for Jordan. And I would like to say that the Jordanian economy is very, very vulnerable and very, very volatile. And if they don't receive this much needed aid, they have to do quick calculations and they have to shift their energy and focus and try to diversify their relationship, financial and economic relationship with the East, and especially with the BRICS countries. Otherwise, they're done, in my opinion. Jordan is very, very vulnerable. Now, the difference between Jordan and Egypt is the following. Egyptian economy is also very vulnerable. They're also suffering hyperinflation. They're also suffering from all sorts of things like the explosion of the birth rate, and they're also in much need of this foreign aid from the United States. However, the difference is between Jordan and Egypt that Egypt has a very strong, capable military. So that's why you see the difference between the King of Jordan and Sisi is that the latter is very, I would say, more determined to say no to Trump because he has a military on his back. Unlike the King of Jordan, whose country is not really sophisticated or advanced militarily, so they're more exposed than Egypt. Excuse me. This illness has killed me, Billy. I've been ill for 10 days. I never been ill for 10 days in my entire life, and it's not leaving me. Anyways, so I suspect that Sisi will be more resilient against Donald Trump's efforts, and let's see if there is a way to persuade him. At the end of the day, there is going to be a meeting between different Arabic countries, I think in 2 weeks or 10 days. This is an Arab League meeting or something, and they will discuss it. I don't know if the Arabs have any solutions in this. It seems that Trump is very determined and bullying them in all ways and shape. And the Arabic countries have found themselves in a very vulnerable position because they didn't expect Trump to treat them like this. And this is the thing that, as I said, because they misunderstood the US as an empire. And at the same time, I've seen many, let's say, Emirati officials, former officials like Tahi Khalfan, who's like saying, what is this? Like, where are the diplomatic norms? What happened to the presidential ethics and this and that? Like Trump is treating us like a piece of shit, you know, sorry for the expression, but I'm paraphrasing him. He's really mistreating them. So, I mean, what did you expect? This is why the Arabic world, and especially these rich kingdoms, have committed a huge crime by joining the wagon of the US in Syria. I mean, it was in their interest to keep at least one or two Arabic countries resisting the US hegemony in the region, because once the US was done with all the Arabic countries that resisted the US, knocked them out, then they shifted their focus on them, on the allies of the US. But they thought that they are allies with the US, but the US doesn't see them as allies. They see them as a player on a chessboard that they have to cooperate and achieve the US foreign policy goals in the region. And when they say no, or if there is a conflict of interest, they will bully, the US will bully them. And this is what the US is doing at the current moment. Now, I will show you the parts of the press conference between Trump and King Abdullah, and we will comment on some of the things that they said here. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, many people in the region, especially Jordan, are worried about the annexation of the West Bank. Will you give His Majesty the King guarantee that you won't allow Israel to annex the West Bank? And how are you going to?
I think that's going to work out very well. That's not really what we're talking about today. I think that's something that's going to work out automatically, and it's in good shape. And we discuss it. Other people have discussed it with us and with me. That's going to work out. West Bank is going to work out very well.
Mr. President, why should the king take in the Palestinian people? He's made clear he doesn't want to.
Well, I don't know, but he may have just something
He doesn't. I don't know. Maybe you have to say something about it, bro.
to say, because we discussed just briefly. I think maybe you want to say it now, or
Well, Mr. President, I think
Just look at his face expressions. He was clearly very, very nervous.
Mr. President, I think we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody?
Right.
And obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to.
I don't understand one thing here. Like he threw the ball in the on the Saudi side. Like he's asking you, and he said, "Yeah, we have to see with King Salman and or Crown Prince Salman. We were going to meet together, and then we will decide." Like he's asking, you're the leader of the sovereign state, and secondly, why should the solution serve the best interest of the United States? This is an issue in West Asia between Jordan, Israel, Palestine, Egypt, etc. Right? Why would the solution serve the best interests of the United States? This is just beyond me.
My people of Jordan, and we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible. And then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on the Gaza challenges.
So
I want to tell you, excuse me, wait, just please. I didn't know that what you just said, 2,000 children with cancer or other problems. And that's really a beautiful gesture. That's really good, and we appreciate it. And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. 3 of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do.
It's not a complex thing to do, to uproot hundreds of thousands of people and send them to 10 cities in Jordan and Egypt. It's not a very complex thing to do, to commit ethnic cleansing. Like, this is the president of the United States.
And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble. Everyone's being killed. They're being robbed. It's like living in hell. And they're going to end up having a great home, great families that don't have to get mugged and killed and beaten up and harassed.
Look, all these things that he says that happened against the Palestinians, everything is correct. They were killed and harassed and raped and all these things. But who did it to them? Look, he blames Hamas now. It doesn't say Israel.
Asked by Hamas and everybody else. And I know we'll be able to work something. And what you just said about the 2,000 is fantastic. It's so beautiful. It's music to my ears. But we're going to be able to work something. And I know we'll be able to work something also with I believe, not 100%, but 99%, we're going to work out something with Egypt.
Mr. President,
during your election
Mr.
campaign,
President,
Mr. President, how is the
US?
U.S. going to own Gaza? Your White House has made clear taxpayer dollars won't be used for this. So
No, we
what money are you
won't.
going to use
No,
to
no,
buy
we'll-
Gaza?
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it. And we're going to keep it.
They're not going to buy it. They're just going to take it.
And we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace and there's not going to be any problem and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly. And eventually we'll have economic development at a very large scale, maybe the largest scale on that site. And we'll have lots of good things built there, including hotels and office buildings and housing and other things. And we'll make that site into what it should be. And the people from Gaza who wouldn't be able to be there for years, because you're talking about just to get it and prepare it and to take care of all of the problems that currently it has, as you know, tunnels, and people are in those tunnels. And you have some good people and some bad people, and you may have hostages right now. You know, you have the hostages possibly there. They don't know where they are. And, you know, I have a Saturday deadline, and I don't think they're going to make the deadline personally. I think they want to play tough guy, but we'll see how tough they are. But it's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be wonderful for the Middle East. I think it'll turn the Middle East. I think you're going to have peace in the Middle East. You're going to eventually have peace in the Middle East.
Couldn't this deadline risk undermining the talks that you're having with the king today, and risk the kind of wider peace that you're trying to?
Because we're not talking about a big situation. We're talking about something that can go very quickly. We're talking about it's going to go quickly. It's not going to take a long time. Okay. That's not going to take a long time. You know bullies, you know what a bully is, right? You know, the bully, I've always, and I found it throughout my life, a bully is the weakest person. And they're
It's him.
bullies. Hamas is bullies.
That's him.
The weakest people are bullies. You know that, right? All right, go ahead.
Mr. President, you were saying that Palestinians will live somewhere else safe. Where exactly do you want them to live?
Well, it's not where I want them to live. It's going to be where we ultimately choose as a group. And I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in
Look, the Jordanian
Egypt.
king doesn't
We may
say
have,
anything.
Someplace else. But I think when we finish our talks, we'll have a place where they're going to live very happily and very safely. And, you know, don't forget, they only want to be on the Gaza Strip because they don't know anything else. They've never had an alternative. And they don't want to be on the Gaza Strip, but they have no choice.
Who said they don't want to be in the Gaza Strip? Who said that they want to leave their homes and go to some other foreign country? It's just making assumptions about the Palestinian people.
They have to be. And they're being killed there at levels that nobody's ever seen. No place in the world is like as dangerous as the Gaza Strip. They don't want to be there. They have no alternative. When they have an alternative, not one person will want to stay where they are. Nobody wants to stay there. They're living in hell. It's a death trap.
Mr. President, how do you know that the Palestinians don't want to leave their land?
Mhm.
Some people say this is ethnic cleansing. You won't be able to force them to leave their land.
We're
Stay
moving
there.
them to a beautiful location where they have new homes, where they can live safely, where they'll have
But they want to
doctors
leave,
and
sir.
medical and all of those things. And I think it's going to be great. Yeah, any questions?
King Abdullah, what do you think?
So the king of Jordan sits next to him, whereas the president of the United States clearly says that they're going to find a parcel of land in Jordan and send the Palestinians there and to Egypt. He's making decisions for Jordan and for Egypt, and the Jordanian king, at least, he said nothing about this. This was really shameful, and I don't want to say much about him because this is not a personal issue. You know, I mean, it's your own country, and you're going to expose yourself because look, your economy is in tatters, and you're going to receive hundreds and thousands more. So it will just exacerbate the economic problems in your country. You have a severe lack of water in your country. How are you going to secure water for the population? And at the same time, you have a big Palestinian population on your territory, and if these Palestinians are ethnically cleansed, this will create negative sentiments in your own country. You're just creating more ground for instability and even probably regime change in Jordan. So even for the sake of his own survival, he shouldn't accept this. But let's see what will the Arabic countries do and say soon, basically. when they meet. I think they are going to meet in Riyadh or somewhere. I'm not sure. Around 600 people watching this on YouTube at the current moment, and also around 100 people watching this on Rumble. I would really appreciate it, guys, if you just hit the like button. It really helps with the algorithm of YouTube, and also helps them with the suppression on this YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it if you just thumbs up. So I want to show you an article which explains lots of things about this case that is happening in Jordan. And this article is published in Responsible Statecraft by Anel Shelin. She says, King Abdullah said he would need to wait for other Arab leaders, including Mohammed bin Salman and Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, before responding directly. This was during the press conference. Sisi and other Arab leaders will meet in Cairo, so it's not in Riyadh, on the February 27th, which means 15 days from now, ostensibly to propose an alternative to Trump's plan to forcibly remove Palestinians from Gaza, which would be a war crime. What do you think is going to be the alternative counterproposal, or the counterproposal of the Arabic countries? Like, instead of receiving 1 million, 2 million, we will receive 1 million. What is the counter proposal? Like, I'm seriously, genuinely interested to, and I will wait and see what are they going to propose. It would be very interesting to see if they are going to propose anything that serves the interests of the Palestinians. Sitting beside King Abdullah, who looked uncomfortable, Trump appeared to walk back his intention to force Jordan to accept Palestinians by withholding U.S. assistance to the kingdom, which he is already doing. Jordan is in a difficult position given the country's reliance on U.S. support, which makes up about 10% of its national budget. So imagine Jordan relies 10% of its national budget on the U.S. aid, not the USAID, but the U.S. direct aid. So 10% of the budget of Jordan comes from the United States, and now Trump stopped this 10%. And he's bullying them, of course. So Egypt similarly relies on U.S. assistance. Both countries began to receive significantly more financial support from the U.S. after signing peace treaties with Israel in 1994 and 1979. When asked by Fox News' Brett Baier about how he would convince Jordan and Egypt to take approximately 1 million Palestinian refugees each, Trump said, quote, "We give them billions and billions of dollars a year." So Trump's cut to foreign assistance include $1.45 billion the US sends to Jordan annually. The only countries to which he didn't cut assistance, of course, were Egypt and Israel. It is evident that from Trump's perspective, Jordan owes the US and so should be willing to take in Palestinian refugees. Trump may not realize that by trying to strong-arm King Abdullah into accepting Palestinians, he is not only risking the US-Jordanian relationship, but potentially the willingness of other Arab states to partner with America. Trump seems to believe that the U.S. sends military and humanitarian assistance to Jordan and other countries and receives little in return, rather than grasping the U.S. support to other countries has played a key role in maintaining U.S. leadership. And when forced to accept political suicide in order to support Trump's regional agenda, countries like Jordan will increasingly seek other partners. Yes, this is what I said is the solution. Let's see if they are going to do it. Moreover, Trump appears unaware that he is posing an existential threat to Abdullah's rule and the stability of a major non-NATO ally. This is also correct. He's just creating fertile ground for dissent against the king of Jordan. Jordan's population is already approximately half Palestinian due to previous Israeli expulsions of Palestinians in 48 and 67. Jordanians are seething over Israel's war on Gaza. 94% of the population are boycotting American goods as a result of U.S. support for Israel's war on Gaza. 3 attacks on the Israeli borders or embassy have already occurred. If hundreds of thousands of new Palestinian refugees were forced into Jordan, the fragile status quo would likely collapse. That's true. Abdullah's government could be overthrown, and given the success of the Muslim Brotherhood in September's parliamentary election, the government most likely to replace it would not be interested in signing another peace treaty with Israel or be willing to host U.S. troops. This is completely bullock, by the way. I don't believe this is going to happen. As I mentioned, guys, the U.S. holds both sides. Like, they are in, let's say, in control. Not in control, they have a huge leverage over the Jordanian kingdom and at the same time on the opposition. So if the King of Jordan has been replaced by the Muslim Brotherhood are the same type of government. They're going to create the same type of governance like in Syria. And from the experiences that we've seen in the past by the Muslim Brotherhood, they are collaborators with the CIA and the MI6. And they're going to continue this so-called peace treaty with Israel, and at the same time they will create the conditions in the country by saying, like, look, our brothers and sisters in Palestine are being ethnically cleansed and they are forcibly driven outside of the country. We have to open our hearts and our homes to our Palestinian brothers and sisters because this is our Islamic duty and our national duty, this and that, and they will receive the Palestinians under such justification, and they will sell it to the people like this is the humane and the right thing to do because look, they have slaughtered, right? And on the surface it will look good, but beneath they're going to collaborate with the ethnic cleansing. So no, the alternative to King Abdullah is not going to be some anti-American, anti-Israeli governance. In the contrary, it's going to be similar with different different masking in this regard. In addition to the political instability that would result, Jordan simply doesn't have enough resources to take in additional refugees. Jordan lacks adequate water for its existing population, a scarcity made worse by Jordan's refugee burden from previous conflicts, including the US invasion of Iraq in 2003 and the years of Syria's brutal war. Despite this support, Jordan's debt is already 90% of its GDP. 90% of this GDP is Jordanian debt. Oh my God. 22% of Jordan's population are unemployed. Could you guys imagine the situation in Jordan? It's so dire, it's so bad. And they're going to send 1 million Palestinians there, which has 90% debt on its GDP and 22% of the population are unemployed. From Abdullah's perspective, Jordan already does a lot for the US at Washington's urging. Jordan has maintained a peace treaty with Israel for the past 30 years. Despite its deep unpopularity among the Jordanian population, Jordan hosts 15 different US military installations and almost 4,000 American troops. And when the author was in Jordan in October to assess the impact of the war on Gaza, Iran fired missiles over Jordanian territory at Israel, and the Jordanian military issued a statement that it had worked with the US military to help shoot down some of the Iranian missiles. One of these even fell and killed a Jordanian. The next day, Jordanians expressed outrage. Why was their government helping the US to defend Israel, even at the expense of their own safety? America's partners from Saudi Arabia to the UAE to Egypt have been willing to acquiesce to the US vision for the Middle East, a vision that prioritizes the desire of Israel over the existence of Palestinians because it served their interests. With US support and weapons, Arab autocrats have consolidated their hold on power. Their collaboration with the US is predicted on the US helping to keep them in power. When the Obama administration failed to save Mubarak's regime from the popular uprising that overthrew it in 2011, many Arab autocrats were shocked at what they saw as Obama's betrayal of a key US partner. This is something that I said, like, I disagree with the author because, in my opinion, she doesn't understand or she doesn't want to mention that both back then, Mubarak and the Muslim Brotherhood were serving US interests, right? So nobody was shocked. Nobody was shocked that the US betrayed the key ally because they brought another key ally to power back then. This is going to be exactly the same thing in Egypt, in Jordan, if they overthrow King Abdullah, and the alternative is going to be the Muslim Brotherhood, which is going to serve American interests, right? If they observe Trump not only failing to support the US partner, but actively coercing him into a decision that could lead to his overthrow, rulers from Riyadh to Rabat may reconsider their partnership with the United States. So, I'm very worried of this situation in Jordan and where this could lead, basically. And to be honest with you, I don't see that Jordan has a lot to lots of leverage to, or lots of cards to play with the US. They don't. Saudi Arabia does. Egypt has. That's why when the king of Jordan was asked by Trump, he said, we have to wait for my brother Mohammed bin Salman and Sisi, and then we will come with a counterproposal. Now, I will show you some so-called analysis by Sami Hamdi, which I believe is a Muslim Brotherhood figure in the UK. He is a sectarian maniac, of course. He was very pro Al-Qaeda in Syria, very pro Muslim Brotherhood. This is my conviction. I believe this guy is a psyop. And I believe this guy is drawing rift in the Islamic world between the Sunnis and the Shias. And I believe that he is a servant of the Muslim Brotherhood powers such as Turkey and Qatar. And notice how he never criticizes Turkey and Qatar. He only criticizes the other Arabic countries such as Saudi Arabia and Egypt and UAE, because he serves the interests of the Muslim Brotherhood. And similarly in Syria, he has been a very vocal supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood, Qaeda, ISIS types under different justifications. And I truly despise these people, and I truly believe that people like himself in the UK are nothing but useful idiots, let's say, geopolitical useful idiots for the US, the UK, and Israeli intelligence. And I will come to that later. But to start with, let me show you this video, which was on Propaganda and Co podcast. And Propaganda and Co has been trying to host me multiple times, but I believe he doesn't want to have me on his podcast because he thinks I'm too controversial for him and I will create problems for his audience, because most of the people following his work are the Muslim influencer circles, and he doesn't want to create backlash against him at all. But he receives people like Sami Hamdi, who is I would say psyop. So take a look. So he's trying here to downplay and justify Jordan's, let's say, role in the region. And he says he wants to be easy on King Jordan, right? But why is he saying that? I will tell you when we watch this. Take a look.
Honest with you, and it might displease some people. I want to go easy on the King Abdullah of Jordan. And I tell you why. King Abdullah of Jordan is in a very difficult position. It's not to justify the actions, but to give some context. King Abdullah of Jordan is aware that what's happening in Gaza puts him in a very difficult position with the Palestinian population in Jordan. And actually, he's been one of the loudest to condemn what's happening in Gaza, and also coming out and rejecting the day after plans that Blinken has been trying to impose.
He was the loudest to condemn Blinken and the US and the Israeli atrocities in Gaza, simply because 60% of the population in Jordan are Palestinians. And if he doesn't do this rhetorical condemnation for the US and Israel, then the people will turn against him. 60% of the people are Palestinians, and they will take him down off his throne, right? But what did also Jordan do beside condemnation? They have gone down and taken down Iranian missiles flying to Israel, right? And they said, they justified it saying that we don't want to be part of any regional struggle of power, and we don't want to be our skies to be used by Iran or the US or this and that. We don't want to be part of it, right? But they're liars. They're liars because Israel and the US have used the Jordanian airspace consistently and repeatedly to bomb Syria many, many times. And they have allowed that. And they have allowed joint military operations room on its territory. They have armed Al-Qaeda terrorists on Jordanian soil. They have given intelligence support to Al-Qaeda. They have done lots of things in favor and in support of Israel and the United States. So this is a complete bullock. And if some of you says, guys, the audio is low, I don't know how to increase the audio. It's serious. It's from the source. So you have to focus on what he says.
Jordan has been quite blunt diplomatically that it deeply resents the US stance. And one of the reasons why Biden went back on the Congress bill that he proposed on the 20th of October, 14 billion to give to Egypt and Jordan to take in Palestinian refugees, is because King Abdullah put his foot down and said, I'm not taking them in. Like, I will not allow you to drive these people out. Like, you can't. Like, it's a red line. The reason why I said in the beginning I'll go easy on him is because the greater threat to King Abdullah of Jordan is not actually the Palestinians or even the Israelis.
Look, this guy, I will tell you, this guy is a psyop, and listen to his words carefully. He doesn't believe that the biggest threat, look, listen, this is very, very important, guys. Listen to him.
Out. Like, you can't. Like, it's a red line. The reason why I said in the beginning I'll go easy on him is because the greater threat to King Abdullah of Jordan is not actually the Palestinians or even the Israelis. It's Saudi Arabia and UAE.
Do you listen what he says here? He says the greatest threat to Jordan is not the Palestinians or Israel. They are the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And you have to understand, if you know anything about West Asia at the current moment, that Jordan, the Saudis, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE are in, I don't want to say a camp, it's not a camp, but they have harmonized their positions in regards to the region. So they are cooperating and collaborating, these four powers, especially Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, and Jordan, together. For the past years, especially after 2017, after the rift with Qatar, these four countries have increased their cooperation among each other. And what Sami Hamdi is doing, basically, is trying to find a rift between these four countries. And I'm not defending these four countries, but he's doing it in the service of Turkey and Qatar, because the rivals of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, and Egypt are not only Israelis in this case, but the major rival is Qatar and Turkey. And because Sami Hamdi is a Muslim Brotherhood, and because his affiliation is for the Muslim Brotherhood, for Qatar, for Turkey, he's saying this to psyop the people and to try to find a rift between these countries in favor of the Muslim Brotherhood movements in the region. That is simply the case. So, I mean, these people have been telling us a lot of things, right? Now they have to be easy on, they want to be easy on King Abdullah. Okay. So why does he want to be easy? These people don't want for the rest to be easy on Israel. So this friend Ashraf says, when it's Hezbollah, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, people like Sami Hamdi say, wage World War III. So they want for World War III to erupt, and they say, you only towers, you Rawafid only use Palestine, and you kill the trillion Sunnis in Syria. But when it's Jordan, Turkey, Qatar, Egypt, or the so-called Free Syria, we need to be easy on them. They can't help. They boycotted Starbucks and protested. This is so true. This is so true. This is what he's basically trying to do. And Raja Abdul Haq, he says, this is such a bad take. While Saudi and UAE regimes are horrible, whitewashing Jordanian regime is just absurd. First, Jordan was created as an alternative homeland for the Palestinians and to protect Israeli east borders. Since then, Jordan has been pivotal in helping the US and Israel containing the Palestinian struggle. Jordan's custodianship of Al-Aqsa is just symbolic to give a sense of legitimacy to the regime. Israel has full authority and control of Al-Aqsa and Jerusalem, whether the custodianship is with Jordan, UAE, or Saudi Arabia. As you may know, guys, these people are completely silent now on the Israeli occupation of the Syrian territories. After they supported this Al-Qaeda Nusra takeover of Syria, they have directly helped the conquest of Damascus by these terrorists, right? They did it day and night, and now they're silent about it. And I will mention one example of this. Our friend Craig Murray, he mentions this. He says, commenting on the news that Israel's presence in Syria is no longer temporary. 9 military sites are being built in the security zone. This is according to the Israeli army radio. And he says, I want to call out those in the UK in particular who pretend to campaign for Palestine, but are actually only interested in sectarian Sunni control over Syria and accepted Greater Israel to get it, like the five pillars. The five pillars is just the same of Sami Hamdi. It's the same. It's the same talking points. It's the same ideology. It's the same propaganda. It's the same psyoping against the Muslim people. Craig says Israel now controls over 30% of Syria's water supply, has taken yet more of its best land, and is still expanding its occupation. Not a single shot from the Zionist puppets of HDS. And I had to say, the sectarian maniacs of five pillars and the rest of the self-identified Sunni influencers in the UK who cherish the quote-unquote liberation of Syria are nothing but useful idiots for the US, the UK, and Israeli intelligence. So, I'm very worried for Jordan and the instability they are cooking for Jordan, and I truly believe that this is going to be the job of the US is going to be easier after occupying Syria by these al-Nusra al-Qaeda terrorists, and now Jordan has a big borders with Syria, between Syria and Jordan, and if the United States doesn't defend or secure the borders, then Jordan is done. Then they will create enough resentment against the Jordanian regime or the Jordanian kingdom, and they will unleash these Al-Qaeda type fighters on Jordan. I don't really rule out that possibility. And please remember that whoever is going to come to power in Jordan after King Abdullah is going to be pro-American, whether on the surface or under the surface. The Americans will definitely manage the crisis, and they will make sure that the outcome of the crisis serves the interests of the US. So if you're an ally of the US and you reject one thing which is against your own interest, they will replace you, just like they replaced back then Hosni Mubarak. They will replace also the king of Jordan. So I hope that this will create new conditions in the region. I hope that this will be a wake-up call for countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Egypt, and the rest. Syria, forget. Syria is done. Syria is cooked completely. Syria is, it's not even a jungle, because in jungle you have some laws and regulations that the animals follow. Syria is completely, it's beyond jungle, right? So forget about Syria. I hope this would be a wake-up call for other countries in the region and understand the true nature of the American empire in this case, and try to protect their national assets and national interests after collaborating for decades with the United States against the interests of the population of the region, right? Are they going to do it? I'm not really hopeful, to be honest with you. I have really not much of hopes from these countries. I'm going to show you one last thing, which is a little bit absurd. Just want to show you the type of mentality also governing the US. And one of which is, I just noticed that there is head of Trump's White House faith office. So basically we have someone who Trump appointed in his cabinet. So she's basically the head of Trump's White House faith office. And she's preaching, I mean, according to Scott Ross, heresies of word of faith and prosperity gospel, both utterly opposed to authentic Christianity. Worse, she has lived a life of scandal with multiple husbands, twisting the gospel for profit. Arguably, this is the worst and most dangerous thing President Trump has done, putting a false teacher at the helm of faith outreach. Lord, have mercy on our country and this administration. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. So this woman is the head of the White House Faith Office. And I will show you this video because I was shocked, man, to be honest with you. Like, what is happening in the US? Like, I thought like such things are exclusive now to the West Asia, Middle East, where we have backward imams preaching hatred and backwardness to the people. But now we have things like this in the US.
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike tidi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus. From South America. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. From Africa. From South America. Angelic forces. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Pika hata anda ata. Ora bata rata ande eke eke manda rasata. For I hear the sound of victory. 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 I hear the sound of victory.
I think she's trying to hypnotize the people. This is what I'm reading your comments, guys. Sounds like she's practicing autosuggestion. What is this? Seriously, man. Yes, and they say the Palestinians are the fanatics. Can you really believe that? By the way, guys, tomorrow on Thursday, I'm going to do a Q&A session. So I think I will make it. Like, I have a class which I finish at 16:30 Central European time, so 10:30 in the morning in Eastern American time. I need like 20 minutes walking, so I will have 10 minutes to dress. I think I will make it. But if I didn't make it, I could only postpone it 10 minutes. So just bear in mind that tomorrow maybe my schedule is a little bit mixed. But if everything works on time, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central European time, 11 a.m. Eastern American time, I'm going to do Q&A, so you can pose your questions. I will set up the live streaming in the morning, so you can also type your questions in advance in the live chat. And when I start the live streaming, I will start from the oldest to the newest. So I will dedicate around 1.5 hours to answer your questions. I will do my best to answer as many questions as possible, but I can't promise you to answer all the questions, but I will definitely answer as many as I can. And I would like to thank the supporters of Syriana Analysis. High Kiev, the Gazans will never leave. They will fight, and this will lead to more bloodshed on both sides. Trump thinks he is dealing with walkovers. I really don't know what's going to happen. It's a devil worship, indeed. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning into today's live streaming. Before leaving, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and if you like to support my independent work, you can become a patron. The link is scrolling on the screen, patreon.com/Syriana Analysis. And if you don't like using Patreon, patreon.com. There are other means in the description below, and I will see you tomorrow on Thursday, 5 p.m. Central European time, 11 a.m. Eastern American time. Peace be upon you, upon your families. Salam.